It's Mon Mothma's HoloNet, and we're just posting on it. Welcome back to the 50-day countdown to The Mask of Fear by Alexander Freed. Today is day 18, and today we're talking about Leia Princess of Alderaan by Claudia Gray. She hates to see my copy coming. It's so unhinged. This is one of my favorite Star Wars stories ever, and I've been lucky enough to yap Claudia's ear off on 2 occasions talking about this book. I like to joke, so first time she encountered this unhinged copy was at Celebration in 2023, and she wasn't doing so great. She had laryngitis, so I like to joke that she got laryngitis to avoid answering my questions. When I told her this last year at Comic-Con in Toronto, she got a kick out of it, but also promised that she didn't get laryngitis just to avoid answering my questions about this book. So that was good to hear. I have some more insights into this book beyond what others might have because of it, but I'll do my best to not bring those up too much. There is a couple instances where it kind of does matter for reasons of my analysis, but beyond that, I'm not going to get too far into it. So the first time that Mon appears is at the ceremony for Leia's Day of Demand, a celebration of sorts where the presumptive heir to the Alderaanian throne will stand before the monarch, typically their parents, at the age of 16 and essentially demand to be invested properly as heir, and promises to achieve a challenge of the mind, of the heart, and of the body in order to prove their worthiness of the role of heir and ultimately to take the throne. Leia's challenges include representing Alderaan in the apprentice legislature, which is her challenge of the mind, using her own money from the royal purse to fund and participate in humanitarian missions throughout the galaxy, which is her challenge of the heart, and climbing a Penza Peak on Alderaan, which is her challenge of the body. I mention these because Mon does have a role in helping Leia achieve 2 of these tasks. Mon is one of the people in this novel that Leia looks up to, especially when she's having difficulty dealing with her parents. In the beginning, she feels as though her parents are no longer interested in her, and worse, in the welfare of their people. She notes that they've been heavily focused on these banquets that go late into the night, and at one point she thinks about how she's found her mother asleep during her workday, which is alarming. When Leia comes to learn that these banquets are actually strategy sessions disguised as parties to help cover up the rebellious activity they are partaking in, it also, she realizes, oh, so they actually do care. They're also protecting Leia by keeping her in the dark about this, because that's a primary concern for Bail and Brea. On Leia's first humanitarian mission to Wobani, the planet that we are introduced to in Rogue One as the planet where Jaina was in the prison camp, she decides to help the population by bringing as many of them as she can back to Alderaan. Brea explains to Leia that Bail and Mon and their allies have been working towards the resettlement of the Wobani population for quite some time now, and she explains that while Leia's actions were good and that she was doing it from the heart, there was a risk that they did damage to the work that was already being done on that front, right? Leia carries this with her, and her parents ultimately ask that they approve her future humanitarian missions in order to avoid this happening again. While Leia thinks that it's not in the spirit of the challenge of the heart, I do think that what her parents are doing here is guiding her to make the best choices possible for everyone involved. This does add to the conflict between Leia and her parents because, of course, they're seeing it in different ways. In some of her reflections upon who her father is working with and what they've been doing, she notes that Mon has been working with him to moderate punishments levied on individuals and entire star systems. They've also turned down motions to punish imperial crimes through slavery, which I don't think that they were very successful in, but it does matter that they fought against it. This leads her to realize that Mon Mothma is part of whatever her parents are doing, and she becomes closer to her through this time as she's learning how to navigate the complexity of imperial politics as someone who's representing Alderaan in the apprentice legislature. During a discussion between the 2 of them, Mon asks that Leia call her Mon, speaking to her as a peer because, as Mon points out, Leia is nearly a grown woman now, and Leia thinks about how from most adults this would come off as like superior, but in the case of Mon, I think that there is nuance that Leia may not fully understand, right? Because she's like, it feels different than when other adults say this. So, you know, knowing what we know about Mon from material that came out later, Mon was already a senator at Leia's age, and she was married. I think that in many ways she sees a lot of herself in Leia, because she knows how difficult it can be to be that age and have so much responsibility on one's shoulders, and also how to basically be an adult. It is clear that Mon respects Leia. She sees her not only as someone that she can help guide, but a peer as well. Leia is able to express her frustrations with the apprentice legislature to Mon without judgment, but while receiving guidance and reassurance as well. I think that in a lot of ways, Mon's work with her helped Leia hone her political skills as a senator and help her become the politician that she wants to be, one who works for the people. And yeah, like, this is great, but it does also, you know, lead to some of the tension between the two of them in later years as they are rebuilding the New Republic, and that is something we'll discuss more in the Aftermath trilogy. However, it's around this time that Leia begins to see that if someone is going to back her up when it comes to working with the rebellion, it's going to be Mon. If Mon believes that she can be trusted, maybe that will convince her parents as well. While Bail and Breha, of course, deserve credit for Leia growing up to be the strong and intelligent and independent woman that she becomes, Mon also did play a key role in getting her to where she ultimately ends up as both a rebel and a politician. In later works, we quite often see Mon and Leia side by side working together, and while some may say that it's in part because of legacy, with Mon and Bail working so close together, it's only natural that, you know, Leia would fill that void. I think that it goes beyond that. They wouldn't work side by side so often if they themselves were not aligned, but also challenging to the other. I think that they challenged the other to be better, especially throughout the era of the Rebellion and the New Republic. They're willing to kind of get into it with each other, not so much here, but in later texts as well, right? They do have different perspectives in some cases, but I think those differences make them stronger, right? Mon remembers the days of the Republic. Leia was born after its fall. So they have very different perspectives on this and on governments and politics as a whole. As I believe that Mon had an incredible impact on Leia and her politics, I believe that Leia was just as crucial for Mon and her politics. Mon's strength and her heart is so easy to see that Leia actually thinks about how Mon might be the person that the cause rallies around, and in some ways she is right. Like, Mon is the leader of the rebellion. Even if Leia is like the face of it, Mon is its leader. It is Mon's speech as well that kicks off the unity between the rebel cells and properly forms the alliance. She's the one who guides the rebellion through to victory and builds the New Republic up the best she can. Is she still flawed? Does she still make mistakes? Of course, she's a human being. But a strong character like Leia is able to see that Mon is what the cause needs is very important. Especially because we know how crucial Leia is to the cause as well. Mon also is the one to impart upon Leia the importance of evidence that she collects while she's out there in the galaxy, like, especially during her humanitarian missions, because, like, they're highlighting wrongdoings by the Empire, and they're going to need these things in the future when they must start fixing the incorrect history that Palpatine has been sharing with the galaxy. They need to correct these narratives and bring these wrongdoings to light, and this will actually give them a place to start with that, right? So, like, for now, she warns Leia, like, hey, like, for now, all we really can do is watch what's happening. And then later we'll be able to do something about it, which sucks, you know? And here we go, on to the really, really, really big part that I really, really love talking about, the dinner party. Yeah. What can I say about the dinner party? A lot. I could literally talk about this dinner party for forever, and I intend to, because it's the best dinner party of all time. But even before that, there is really one moment that perhaps you could lean into and feel like there's something more between Mon and Bail than just being friends and allies. They're having a little family chat. Bail is drinking Chandrillin tea and talks a little bit about how, you know, he's like, well, I mean, I don't think that violence is inevitable, but, you know, I think that it's possible that we may have to participate in it. And Brea's like, oh, you seem to be coming around a little bit. And he's like, yeah, Mon works even harder on me than you do. And Brea's like, good for her, right? Is that nothing? Yes. But because of its proximity to the dinner party of all dinner parties, you could latch onto it if you wanted to. Nobody's gonna stop you. I'm not gonna stop you. I ship Mon with Bail and Brea. Let's be freaking for real here. Yeah, but chapter 24 of Leia Princess of Alderaan is quite literally everything to me. I fully should not ever be trusted to have children because there's a chance I would try to name my child Leia Princess of Alderaan chapter 24. You don't want to call me on that bluff. So essentially, Tarkin crashes a dinner party on Alderaan. Leia, who hasn't been allowed to attend yet because she's not been invested as heir, is pulled in to make sure that the numbers are even. It's clear that Tarkin's trying to get some information about their rebel activities out of this group, but then Brea decides to drop the fake bombshell that Bail and Mon are having an affair, and the whole thing is absolutely hilarious, because the other rebels are just like, oh my god, what the fuck, we don't want to be here, we don't know them, oh my gosh. And after Leia starts crying, because honestly, what the fuck is going on? Tarkin leaves. And he's not pleased. He's like, this is so inappropriate. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? I can't believe you're all drunk. Like, this is... You guys are supposed to be, like, you know, better than this. The literal Queen of Alderaan is drunk right now. She wasn't. It was very funny. The three of them end up consoling Leia and assure her that it is fake, and the others at the party are told that Leia is, like, aware of what they've been doing. But the way that Mon, Bail, and Brea are able to pull this off so seamlessly says something about how well the three of them work together, and that they trust each other to not, like, take it too far, or... Like, I don't think, like, none of them believe this, right? So it's very much, to me, it kind of feels like that's a little bit like that scene in episode 12 of Andor between Mon and Perrin, except instead of only one person in the conversation knowing what's going on, all three of them do. Leia's the one in the dark, and so is everyone else at that table. Like, Leia really helped sell it. And... you know, it's very funny. Like, it's so funny. I just love this scene. There is a line that when I asked Claudia about it, I was like, hey Claudia, what the fuck does this mean? I'm pretty sure those were the exact words that came out of my mouth. Like, I read it and I was like, so there's this bit. What the fuck does that mean? And it's... The thought of her father and Mon Mothma together made her want to cry, but she understood why someone might believe it. Yeah, what the fuck? And of course, originally, as Claudia explained, it was about how they were always taking secret meetings and spending a lot of time together. But after Andor and what we know with the state of Mon's marriage, that adds more to it, right? Like, this is one of the reasons why I'm literally begging for Mon and Tay to use the fake affair ruse. Because if it works, again, I'm just like, what must the people who are, like, in charge of watching Mon Mothma and doing her file in the Empire, like, what do they think of her? It's so bad. But I love it, because I'm like, girl, how many times are you gonna pull this off? It's so funny. So that is definitely something that I want to see in Andor Season 2. I love a fake relationship trope. I love a fake affair trope. Yeah, many of the other others at the party are upset by the idea that Leia knows about the rebellion, but Leia insists that they didn't tell her and that she just, like, figured it out on her own, which doesn't fucking help at all. Because they're like, if a 16-year-old girl could figure it out, what the fuck? But Mon interjects and says that, like, Leia's not a child, but a young woman who has had her day of demand, is coming into adulthood, is a representative of the next generation who will bear the brunt of this fight and this conflict. And she's correct. Think about the young rebel heroes like Luke, Leia, Ezra, Sabine, Wedge, like Hobby, like all of these young people who never knew democracy will be fighting back and staking their lives on a cause that is led by the adults who watched democracy fall. They are pinning their lives on the hope of seeing a world come back that they never knew. Right? It's clear that Mon does respect Leia as a leader of her generation in her acknowledgement of how important it is to have people of Leia's age with them in this. While others might write them off, she knows their importance. She gets it. Right? Like, yeah, like these are the people that will be blowing up Death Stars for you, that will be defeating the Emperor for you. It's not going to be, you know, the people who are approaching middle age. It's going to be the young people. And so we have to make sure that we are allowing them to participate, but we can also keep them safe, right? And despite Mon thinking and knowing that Leia has a place in the rebellion, she's still not thrilled when Leia turns up at a secret rebel base with Amilyn Holdo, partially because of the danger that Leia had put herself in to get there. While she does listen to the important intel that Leia presents, she does refuse to keep this situation secret from Bail and Brea. Probably partially because of the trust. If Mon is keeping that from them, what else would she keep from them? Right? That's not good for their allyship. And I think that this is important, but not as a contradiction to Mon's belief that Leia is a trusted ally and someone that should have a role in the rebellion. It shows that despite her seeing Leia as a peer, she also still sees her as a protege type character as well. And she won't support Leia getting herself into dangerous situations or being reckless, and that is super important. And part of that goes into making sure that Leia knows the importance of her personal safety and also being accountable for the things that she does. In this instance, she's accountable to her parents. She doesn't do it to be mean-spirited, but it also wouldn't help convince Bail and Brea that Leia should be working with the rebellion if the people leading that rebellion are encouraging her to partake in dangerous things and encouraging and allowing secrets of this nature to be kept from her parents, right? You know, like, if Leia got hurt and Mon kept that a secret, that would be bad, right? She needs Leia to know, like, hey, yeah, what we're doing is important, but your safety is also important. It's not time for you to risk your life. That time, unfortunately for Leia, will come, and it will come several times. But now is not that time. She's trying to protect the innocence that Leia still has because she's still young. Leia's not that much older than Lita. So, would she want her daughter sacrificing her life? Fuck no. She doesn't want Leia sacrificing her life either. The last thing I'm going to mention with regards to Leia Princess of Alderaan and Mon's story is close to the end when Leia has to go be the one to warn her father and the rebels that he's with that the Empire knows about the base that they're at. Mon and Brea can't go because they have things that them missing. There would be a lot of attention drawn to that, right? No one is really going to miss Leia at this point in time, but Mon still comes by to help Leia out with this task. She brings an untraceable credit solid from banks so secret not even Palpatine has their details, and that makes me think, makes all of us think, I think, because Mon is not only connected to Tay, who is a banker and would probably, maybe, have access to things like that, but now I've also, like, come to realize, I'm like, Davo Skulden's a sketchy dude. And he's got treasury connections. as well. Like, could this be something from one of them? Who knows? I brought this up with Claudia, and it was another thing that she said was more interesting now that we have Andor. Of course, my Davos Scalding connection came in a little bit later. I'm so Monte-pilled. It's not even funny. Like, I ride hard for Monte. Yeah, so anyway, I highly recommend Leia Princess of Alderaan to literally everyone. If you're a Star Wars fan, read this book. It's really good. It's not that long. I could do it in one sitting, but I choose not to. Yeah, it's one of my favorites. I don't see that changing at any point in time, because I feel like it does a lot of character work for not only Leia and Mon, but Bail and Brea, and also Amelin Haldo, because it was one of the The Last Jedi books. So you get Amelin Haldo, you get Crate, you get a whole bunch of really cool stuff. So read it. Read it. And also, you should make sure that you have Mask of Fear pre-ordered, because that comes out in like less than a month, or about a month. I don't know, 31 days, I think. 32 days. I can't count. I think it's 32. 32 would make sense. This is day 18. So tomorrow is day 19 of the countdown to the Mask of Fear, and we're talking about my favorite episode of Rebels, Secret Cargo. See you then.